There is now a great difficulty in determining falsehood from the truth. Even I'm having difficulty when I browse my social media. Artificial intelligence should only be tool to enhance human reasoning. We must work all together to find the real thing, the truth on everything. Falsehood is so attractive today. They're so convincing. The challenges in promoting critical thinking, especially among young people today, one challenge is the time element. It will really take us a while to pull them out from where they are comfortable. Critical thinkers like us should be in a rush to introduce the mindset of critical thinking. You can never solve something when you are blinded to your biases, blinded to what you know. No, you really have to know the facts.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, world. Welcome to my podcast entitled Critical Thinking in an Age of Noise. I am Gladys Mangiduyos. I am an educator for 3 decades now and so passionate to cultivate something inherent in all of us, critical thinking. In an overwhelming information revolution, with the proliferating disinformation and information, it is really imperative to cultivate critical thinking. I am so honored to have my very first guest here in my podcast, Dr. Ireneo G. Alvaro, the president of Wesleyan University Philippines, the one who instituted and supported our 8-long critical thinking convocation, which runs across all disciplines in the university. Thank you, Dr. Alvaro, for being here.
It's my pleasure.
I have few questions for you that I believe would help all of our listeners to really gain more clarity on what critical thinking is and why this is imperative. Why do you think critical thinking cultivation is imperative in today's rapidly changing world?
When we talk of rapidly changing world, we mean the technological boom, right? Okay. And especially with the advent of artificial intelligence, these are the in thing today. Critical thinking is imperative in today's technological, rapid, rushing technological advancement. Because especially with the advent of artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence can generate convincing falsehood. Critical thinking then becomes the essential tool to distinguish accurate information from what we call falsehood or most modern term, fake news. In the social media, as you will notice, there is now a great difficulty in determining falsehood from the truth, correct? Yes. Even I'm having difficulty when I browse my social media. I do not know which is really the true or which is falsehood. And then it is therefore incumbent upon us to be, number one, to be skeptic, ask questions, find clarity, to come up with the right judgment on a particular issue or thought. That's why critical thinking becomes so important, so imperative in this era of technological advancement. The ethics should be artificial intelligence should only be tool to enhance human reasoning. It should be the not everything thing, not to replace it. There is an author, or rather a CEO, by the name of Sidney Harman. He is one of the founders of the Harman Kardon, the good speakers during our time. He once said, and I quote, technology is here to serve men, not the reverse. But with the, as what you have, as what I read in your title, in this age of noise, so many noise, what is happening is it seems to be the reverse. By what's happening now, many becomes tool of technology rather than technology, enslave technology and use it for more creativity, for more innovation. It's this is the danger. That's why criticality in thinking is so important. Instead of using many people, instead of using it as a tool to enhance human reasoning, reality indeed is becoming the reverse, and this is the worst thing that could happen if we do not propagate criticality in thinking.
I agree with you. That is so true that lies now become truth because people allow them to happen.
Yes.
The social media is now presenting the narrative that is not being filtered if that is true or not, right? So you have emphasized that chat or the AI tool shall only be a tool to help human reasoning. But what is happening is the other way around. Thank you for emphasizing that we should persist to gain accuracy in everything.
Yes,
And before
definitely.
doing that is to suspend judgment, to be skeptic in believing whatever information is being presented to us. I so admire you as the president of Wesleyan University Philippines instituting this critical thinking convocation. How do you think the universities like Wesleyan would enhance, training its people, its community, the faculty, the heads and the deans and the students? How would you foster more trainings on that?
First of all, the very important thing is it has to start with the leaders themselves. What I mean is the leaders themselves must believe and advance critical thinking. That's number one. Just in Wesleyan, we established a dedicated entity so that there should be more focus on expanding the reach of critical thinking to everyone, especially to the students who are in the midst of varied noise, so to speak. And they are so engrossed, most of them are engrossed in the social media or exposed mostly in the social media. And they are the mostly what we call vulnerable sector to what we call fake news or AI. I call it AI hallucination. Therefore, it has to come from the leaders themselves in an institution. And they, as I have said, we should and we must have a dedicated entity, just like what we did in Wesleyan, focused on it so that it can make its program and there's sustainability in promoting the culture of critical thinking.
I'm so thrilled to hear that, President. Mr. President, you have emphasized that the leaders themselves must believe in the noble direction of Wesleyan University Philippines, cultivating criticality among your people in the community of that academic arena, and they have to have the focus. So a leader cannot embody something which he does not believe.
Definitely.
And thank you for emphasizing that, which I believe lacking in other leaders. That is the reason why you intentionally instituted this critical thinking convocation. You were a CEO of the corporate world, you before becoming the president
Uh-huh.
of Wesleyan University. In your leadership journey, how has critical thinking guided you in your decisions?
Hmm. Yes, with critical thinking, there is a minimal chance that you will err in your decision making because the center of our work as CEO is decision making. But when you do not uh, include criticality in all the work that you do, there is more tendency to err than to do the right thing. And as a leader, when you apply what we call in critical thinking the mindset of critical thinking, which if you allow me, I did a for clarity or rather for brevity and easy remembering, I termed it as spoils.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, spoils, SPOI. The spoils of war and everything, so that I can remember it, and whenever I am at work, I remember my spoils. This is the mindset of criticality. Number one, the S stands for skepticism. The P, precision. The O is the open mindedness. The I is intellectual humility. L is for logical reasoning, and self regulation as the last S. When you talk of skepticism, it should, as a CEO, you should always have that what I call questioning attitude. A questioning attitude towards ideas, information, and perceived wisdom, involving the ability to question assumptions and biases. More or less, when you do this, more or less, you will understand more and see the real context of things when you ask questions. The next, precision and clarity. There should be precision and clarity in all what we do. Thinking and communicating clearly, defining terms and avoiding ambiguity are essential to come up with the right understanding of issues and even problems. That's precision. And then, of course, uh, as a CEO, as the top of all uh, the humans in your institution, there should always be an open mindedness, willing to consider different sides of an issue and alternative viewpoints. It's not always because you're on the top. Oh, I'm on the right always. No, you should have that open mind. I is, we call it, intellectual humility. This is very important in decision making, in confronting people, especially your subalterns. Meaning to say, when we talk of intellectual humility, you are recognizing the limits of one's own knowledge and and being open to be wrong, or to accept wrongness, because we are not perfect people. We err. That is what we call, when you can accept that you are wrong, then that makes things more much easier, accepting your limits. That is intellectual humility. And of course, you have always to use logical reasoning. Simply, it is understanding and applying principles of logic to ensure arguments are sound. And this is another very important in leadership, self-regulation, monitoring and creating one's own thinking and biases, because sometimes we are encapsulated, we are enslaved with our own biases. That's why we cannot hear the other voices. That is what we call self-regulation. If we have this mindset of what we call critical thinking, there is a greater chance to commit error, or rather, a smaller chance, I should say, to commit error in your decision making, as you can base your actions and everything that you do based on truth and context and clarity of things.
This is so heartwarming to know. The spoils. The spoils is so powerful, Mr. President. You know, when you said, you reminded me of Socratic dialogue.
Uh-huh.
Socrates was emphasizing that not all the time you are correct in your thinking. So you need to constantly check your thinking, and you need to ask your fellow human being, is my thinking correct?
Eh,
That
and you
is
know,
so
that was
wonderful.
the Socratic thought was also emphasized by modern philosophers like Mahatma Gandhi and Friedrich Nietzsche. These philosophers, they constantly would say, you do not have the ownership of truth, of the absoluteness of truth.
Yes, yes, indeed. And you are just saying informed decisions will always lead to responsible actions. So
Definitely.
you really need to constantly practice this spoils.
Yes.
And this is easy to understand, easy to remember, the spoils. Every day anyone can have a discipline in practicing this spoils, in remembering this. Thank you for this, sir.
And you know why I thought of that, of putting that spoils, because isn't it when you have the spoils of war, you have
Yes,
some you
yes.
have some gold, you have some valuable things that you were able to get.
And then you will redeem and rescue whatever. If you are disciplined in doing things,
Yeah.
you will commit little error.
Yeah, these are always and this should be, I think, all leaders must have this, must be guided by this we call mindset of critical thinking.
Yes. You also mentioned about asking better questions or the right questions. You know, the Filipino culture or Asian culture, we were, raised by never ask the elders any question because it's a show of disrespect. But you are encouraging people to really raise more questions. How is it? And why? Why do we need to do that?
Yes, because in asking questions, that is where freedom lies. Because when there is what we call unclear issues, you just don't sit there and accept it as it is. Gone are the days of the follow and swallow attitude, wherein because we say, for instance, for the young people, because you are young, you are afraid to ask questions. No, there is a restriction of freedom. When you ask question, you get clarity, because when you ask what you cannot understand, that is the only way to get the answer. Silence can never give you the answer.
So, how do you encourage people to raise questions? How do you provide space in Wesleyan University, Philippines, that environment that encourages questioning and reflection rather than conformity.
Yeah, I always remember uh, in my career here in Wesleyan, or rather, before in my career as a CEO of an international corporation, you know, my attitude then was always jump the gun, so to speak. I quickly, uh, what do you call it? I quickly respond to some issues or some problems
And
without
quickly
really,
react.
and quickly react without really knowing the context of things. But when when I had that kind, when I learned about the mindset of critical thinking, I become I think I can say I became a little, or rather a little more mature in confronting issues and even problems and
Problems.
even approaches in and decisions, and my decision making skills were enhanced. I remember a Sydney Hartman,
Yes.
as I have told you earlier, when he was assigned in the Harman Kardon company in Bolivar, Tennessee. This is what he said, and this is so beautiful. Uh, he said, you know, disgust uh, should not be only there, but it should always be encouraged. In his stint in the Bolivar, Tennessee plant, he created an environment where dissent is not
Mhm.
only tolerated
Mhm.
but encouraged. So this became my standing rule. You know, you can never know the real meaning of the wrong or of a problem or of an issue when you gag people, right? So that's why in Wesleyan, we 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 even encourage uh, disconformity or unconformity on issues. Because we have to know what's the real issue, what's the real score. You can never solve something when you are blinded
Mhm.
to your biases, blinded to what you know, uh, blinded to some people who in your who what do you call it, who buzz in your ears. No, you really have to know the facts. That's why in Wesleyan 2, I with the critical thinking entity
Program.
program, we encourage we encourage dissent. We encourage asking questions. We encourage seeking for clarity.
I love that. That dissenting opinion being encouraged in each of your people, that is so powerful because so many years, long time ago, people are not given the chance to air to or raise their dissenting opinion. But it is through listening to them we will learn other contexts,
Mhm.
other situations, right? Like what you are doing, Mr. President. Thank you for that. Now you have the spoils, you are cultivating the environment, providing the space for them to really cultivate their criticality. You allow them to raise questions, you allow them to raise their dissenting opinions. I believe you are heading to the right direction of that criticality. But in doing that, I believe there have been challenges,
Oh,
difficulties in
mhm.
in cultivating criticality. Can you mention some of those challenges?
Yeah. Experience wise, especially in not only in Wesleyan and in other companies where I belonged, you know, the challenges in promoting critical thinking, especially among young people today, um, whom we say they live in the fast and digital culture. The one challenge is the time element. It will really take us a while to pull them out from where they are used to and where they are comfortable. That's why we critical thinkers like us should be in a rush to introduce the mindset of critical
Yeah,
thinking.
I agree.
That's one challenge. The time, and perhaps the other one is the lack of aggressiveness of some leaders. The educational institutions like Wesleyan must lead in the propagation of criticality. The administrators, the leaders of institutions, of educational institutions must be the one to lead. There should be an aggressiveness. We have to add more on this. And then, of course, the other challenge is the decline of what we call innovative spirit. Why? When, especially the young people, when they are provided with everything and everything is almost given and within the reach of your of your hands,
correct.
of your thumb, or whatever, the innovativeness suffers because you're so comfortable. Everything is already there. You don't need to 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 perspire uh, to get what you need. That's what I think. This is one of the reasons why most of our young people easily get bored on things. There's a statistics that most of the Zoomers cannot stay longer in the workplace. And the other young people, they cannot stand for long the jobs. They have to top here and there because they're used to they're used to what we call
Because everything is provided so easily, so they cannot withstand the difficulty in doing.
they're not used to be to patience,
Yes.
to waiting. One author, I read one author who said, author of AI, automation without human oversight can lead to a loss of depth and richness in work and creativity. It's slowly happening now. So that's one issue that we're really having difficulty, the decline of innovative spirit and the depth of what we call richness and depth of work and creativity. The other issue may be there is some sort of cognitive decline. There is a study, or several studies show that excessive trust and reliance on AI tools can correlate with the decline of critical thinking. It has a correlation. That's why somehow it declined. And then and as a result of this, over reliance or convenience, temptation to simply offload all thinking to AI can hinder the development and application of independent judgment. These are the very great challenges that we are facing now to really push forward critical thinking.
And that is so sad to learn that these are happening now with our young professionals. They easily get annoyed, get dismayed, and get disgusted. So they will just leave the work undone because they believe it's not for them. Because in social media, they can just easily get anything they want.
It's what they call, it's in the tip of your it's in the fingertips. The answer is always in the fingertips or in that swipe.
Yes, sir. And thank you for saying that when we do not cultivate critical thinking, we are bound to lose the creativity, the depth,
Yes.
you know, the profound lens that they would need using in dealing with so many problems and issues in the world. We are losing our people, we are losing humanity because they are no longer human, no longer thinking, because they just tick and tick whatever they see on Facebook and whatever they hear, they will not filter. Thank you for saying that it is suspending our judgment. We really need to stop and look. And the problem now is people no longer stop.
Hmm.
They do not pause and verify. They will just easily believe. And it's not easy to do what you are doing in Wesleyan University, Philippines, because it's really hard to lead back the people to their core. Thank you for that, Mr. President.
Yeah, and one more thing, when we talk of artificial intelligence, we have to bear in mind that AI is here to stay and to develop more. But the ethical issue there is to make AI as your slave, not you being enslaved with this technological advancement.
Absolutely.
They should be, this technological advancement that we have been talking about earlier, we should be the master. We should be the master of them. Meaning to say, use them as tools. Use them as tools to enhance learning, to enhance understanding, to enhance creativity, to enhance richness of decisions. This should be the ethical standard of artificial intelligence. We should not be the slave of it, but AI must be our slave.
Absolutely. So you are saying, sir, that while this AI, the dawn of AI, that we cannot stop because we
Yes.
really need to embrace this.
Exactly.
You are saying that we need to double time, triple our time in
Yes.
cultivating criticality among our people. Because if not, we will lose depth and we will lose our informed decisions and our judgment, we will be partial instead of being impartial. So, my next question is okay, what trends or global shifts convinced you that now is the time for Wesleyan University Philippines to really invest deeply in critical thinking programs?
Actually, I would not say it's now. It should have been
Yes,
before.
yes.
We're really late, but we really have to catch up. Technological advancement is in a rush. That is a given thing. You cannot do anything about that. It's really fast moving. The University Wesleyan should cope with this rush, or else, or also, of course, she will be decades behind. The culture of fear, or what we call the customary follow and swallow norm, is already a passé thing. Meaning, we must work all together, seeking clarity on everything that we do. We must work all together to find the real thing, the truth on everything. Because, as I have said earlier, a falsehood is so attractive today, especially
Yes.
when you look at social media, they're so convincing. So we really have to rush. Also, critical thinkers should really cope, should really rush. Like in Wesleyan, we started it already, and we're really serious in pushing it more forward.
So you mentioned we really have to be serious,
Yeah.
intentional in doing
Mm.
this, and really, we really have to double our time
Yes.
or exert more effort in doing this. Thank you, sir. I have learned in critical thinking before that we are called Homo sapiens
Mm-hmm.
because we have the ability to think,
Mm-hmm.
but we were never taught that we are also Homo criticus. We are um, we have the capacity to think critically. And that is what is inherent in us. And that is what we are about to cultivate.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I agree with you.
Finally, sir, what is your message to our students and educators who are just beginning their journey toward this critical, reflective thinking?
Um, Continue to seek the truth by asking questions. Never fear in asking what is not clear. Be clear with what you say at the same time and what you mean. That should be a practice daily. Be clear. Aside from asking questions, you have to be clear with what you say and what you mean so that there is no other misinterpretations and life will be much clearer and easier because we can understand each other well. Second, always have an open mind and consider other thoughts and not to be stuck on our preconceived notions. And as I have said, remember that always exercise intellectual humility, that we are not always right, not all the time. We're human beings. We're also bound to err. But make sure to accept the wrong when you are really wrong, especially when it's obvious already. That is what we call exercise intellectual humility. Um, do not be confined with our own biases. In an era of so much noise, always listen intently. Um, you know, this is very important for every human being. Listening intently, hearing the real voice. Seek for clarity before even making a judgment, before judging. And remember, as I have said, you have said the Socratic
Dialogue.
dialogue, which was echoed by Mahatma Gandhi and Friedrich Nietzsche. No one has the ownership of the absolute truth. Therefore, that in our being skeptics, that open mindedness, that self regulation and intellectual humility, these are the guiding principles that must rule in our every undertaking. I will tell you, when we use the mindset of critical thinking, I don't think we can ever go wrong.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alvaro. You have mentioned all of the clarity, precision, accuracy, informed decisions will lead to responsible actions. Thank you for saying the spoils. We will remember that, the spoils, and we will evaluate our thinking each day and every day. Thank you for the gift of your principled leadership in Wesleyan University, Philippines. I am both honored and humbled for this wonderful conversation we had in Critical Thinking in an Age of Noise podcast. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. We will have our episode 2 next time as we deal with from home to workplace. How do we apply criticality? Thank you.